this week's reading vlog. It is Monday evening. I've been sitting outside after work reading in the garden, but I'm just about to head inside to catch some of Jade's Patreon reading sprints this evening. I feel like reading sprints are going to be a real staple of this week's reading, as I'm feeling a little bit slumpy after my beautiful holiday last week and lots of successful fantasy reading. I'm struggling to get back into the rhythm of doing both a work week and reading lots of books, so I think sprints are going to be absolutely vital to keep up my productivity for this week. So this evening I have just started this beauty, Master of Sorrows by Justin Call, which is my 5-star prediction pick for Whateverthon, and I will be trying to get through all of this in the next couple of days. I'm also hoping to pick up The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. I've been really feeling some murder mystery vibes this week, really. I haven't read one for a little while and I'm really in the mood for a good cozy murder story, so hopefully that one will be another hopefully 5-star pick this week. It's the very first of the Poirot stories, of which Agatha Christie wrote many, and I have read an awful lot of, but I've never actually read this first book, so very excited to get into that one. And then also this week I would like to read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a reread, it's a multiple reread. I've probably read this book about 10 times, but it is actually my birthday this Saturday, so I thought what better book to read on my birthday than my comfort read pick for this month, which is The Hobbit, of course. I have a beautiful illustrated edition, which I showed you a few clips of in my TBR video for the month, so Saturday I will hopefully get through that book. It's a very quick read for me, as it's a reread and is a children's book essentially. It's something I can get through in just an hour or so it's a nice cozy read just to sneak into an otherwise hopefully quite busy day. So I will continue with Master of Sorrows tonight, hoping to get through about 150, maybe 200 pages of that one to keep me on schedule for the week. If I do for some reason get to any other books this week, I will of course let you know, you will see in the footage, but if I can get through those 3 by Sunday night, I will call this week a success. It is now Thursday evening and I am failing miserably at both reading and vlogging this week, unfortunately. I've had a really busy week back at work. I've had lots of work to do outside of work hours to try and catch up with all of the things that I missed last week while away on holiday, and I've also had quite a busy week with tennis in the evenings, so haven't really had a huge amount of opportunity or energy left for reading. So you saw on Monday night that I started Master of Sorrows and I got nearly 200 pages through that one, but since then haven't actually touched the book again, and as I said, it's now Thursday. I have also started Mysterious Affair at Styles, but I'm only about a third of the way through this one, so I have both of those books to finish, good few hundred pages left, and I plan to read The Hobbit this week, and I only have a few days left. Bear in mind they're also a busy few days, so tomorrow night I have another tennis match, so probably won't get to read at all tomorrow. Saturday is my birthday, and then Sunday I'm at work all day, so not really going well on the reading opportunities front. My time is dwindling by the second. I am planning to watch some of the Whateverthon sprints this evening. I think they're on Becca's channel, so hopefully that will give me a little bit of a boost of motivation. I thought at the start of the week that sprints would be my salvation this week, and it would turn out that I'm absolutely correct. So that will be the plan for the rest of the evening. I think I will try and do a little bit more of Master of Sorrows this evening, try and get another couple of 100 pages through this book so that I can have broken the back of it. I'm really enjoying it. I really was intrigued by what I was reading to start with, and I think it's all set to be a very good book and possibly a new favourite. I'm too early on to say at the moment, but definitely excited to see what else happens to these characters. But the pressure is on for this week. I feel like I need to just set myself some realistic challenges, an hour at a time, do a small chunk of page count and see what I can actually achieve. So I will head back inside now, try and get a little bit more reading done, and I will update you later with my progress. Hello, so I'm just out for an evening walk. It is Friday evening. I was supposed to have a tennis match tonight, but it was cancelled due to the forecast of rain, which actually hasn't materialised, so I decided to come out for a walk instead, and have just finished off reading The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. I have really enjoyed this book. It's not one of my favourite Poirots that I've read, but definitely a good read for me. It was nice to see the starting point for where Poirot's story came from and the introduction of Hastings' character as well. I do sense a little bit of the Sherlock and Watson type relationship, with Hastings being the sort of layman's eyes into Poirot's super intelligent world. It's a nice little pattern that I'm familiar with in this kind of story. I found the story to be average, to be perfectly honest. It was an interesting plot, but I think the red herrings were a little bit obvious in some ways, and then in other ways you absolutely had no clue and no way of guessing what the actual plot twist was going to be. So not one of the most gratifying stories, in that you couldn't really put yourself in the plot and play detective as you were going along, but I love the way Agatha Christie writes. I love her use of words and her descriptions, and I always find these really sort of comforting and wholesome reads. So very glad to have finally read the very first Poirot, and I shall definitely continue reading the rest of the Agatha Christies that I haven't yet got to, of which there are a few. I've read the majority, but I think there's still a few out there that I haven't yet read, so that will be more reading for the future. I still haven't made much more progress with Master of Sorrows, so hopefully can get a little bit more of that done tonight, and then we'll finish it off over the weekend. Tomorrow is my birthday, so not sure how much reading I'll get done then. I do want to read The Hobbit tomorrow as my comfort read pick, so probably tomorrow evening we'll fit that one in, as long as I'm not out doing other things, but we will see. My reading has struggled a little bit this week, but I think we can probably get done the 3 books that I did have planned if I really put my mind to it. So I will check in with you again tomorrow, and you can hopefully see some footage of my birthday outing and some of the things I get, and maybe a bit more reading too. Happy Saturday! Today is actually my birthday, hence why I've made an effort with my appearance for once, and I'm having the most lovely day so far. I have been out with some family, been on a beautiful drive in our convertible car through the Cotswolds in the sunshine, which is just my favourite thing to do. Been to a beautiful garden as well, another of my favourite places, and surrounded myself by sweet scented roses and other gorgeous flowers, which are very prevalent in June, hence why I always tend to go to gardens on my birthday. I've been sat out in the sun. I've come home and had the most decadent chocolate cake handmade by my mum, who's a very good baker, and I'm just heading out into the garden at home for a little bit more sunshine and probably a nice drink or two in a moment as well. I've had some beautiful presents and cards from lots of lovely friends and family. One especially I'm particularly excited to show you. I'm sure a lot of you will approve. Hello! Time for a quick wrap up of my reading for this week, as it's now Monday morning. I'm stuck in the traffic on my way to work, so thought I'd better multitask and use the time so I can get this vlog edited this evening. So yesterday was a pretty chaotic day. I had a really busy day at work, very late finish, but I did manage to stay up probably later than I should have done and finish reading Master of Sorrows. I was really impressed with this book. It was my 5-star prediction pick for Whateverthon, and I'm really glad I chose this book. It was my most highly anticipated of my current TBR, and I was really impressed with the story. I cannot wait to get to the sequel. It felt it was simultaneously familiar and like nothing else I'd read before. It was a bit of a twist on the coming-of-age story, a magic school setting, lots of the familiar beats of fantasy stories, but had a slightly different magic system than I'd come across before. There was the concept of these artifacts, and also our main character, for one, having really good disability rep, which was something I hardly ever come across in fantasies, but also having this sort of question about his parentage and this scandal, and that he's supposed to be, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's questions around his birth that mean that people would discriminate against him, even more so than just for having a disability. So that's really nice representation to see in what was otherwise a very ordinary high fantasy type world. I really enjoyed the main character, Anuf. He was a fascinating character. I really liked seeing his thought processes, and as he develops and starts to question what he knows about the people around him and how he can be himself in a world where everybody's trying to tell him what to do and how to behave, and what the best way to progress with his future is, and he's trying to make sense of all of that. So very much the coming of age story, as I said, but a really enjoyable one. I definitely found the second half of the book a lot more compelling than the first. The first half is very classically telling the story of the magic school, whereas the second half has a lot higher stakes. There's a lot more drama and things definitely ramp up in intensity, but I had a brilliant time reading this book, and as I said, I cannot wait to get to the sequel just as soon as I can get my hands on it. So that does conclude my reading for this week. I managed to get through A Mysterious Affair at Styles, Master of Sorrows, and The Hobbit, which I did read on my birthday. I haven't given you any verbal feedback on this, but it was a reread for about the 10th time of me reading this book. You saw some footage of the beautiful illustrated edition of this, which I have, and which I very much enjoyed reading on my birthday evening. It was a lovely little end to the day, something very familiar and comforting that always makes me smile. So The Hobbit has always been a 5-star when I've read it, and remains the same. Master of Sorrows also got a 5-star, as predicted, as hoped for. I'm doing quite well for 5 stars at the moment, actually. Everything I'm reading seems to be, if not there, then pushing it. Mysterious Affair at Styles, I think, is probably a low 4. It was borderline 3 and 4, to be honest. Not my favourite Poirot I've read, but I think it gets slightly extra points for familiarity, for the fact that I love Agatha Christie's writing, and the characters are very familiar, so I think it will push up into that 4-star. So that was a pretty successful reading week, as I said. I'm excited to start my next week's reading when I get home from work this evening. I'm probably going to start Rage of Dragons this week, which is another highly anticipated fantasy book that I cannot wait to get to, and will fit in a couple more of my reads as well. I'm actually slightly running out of time. I have a little bit miscalculated my TBR. I should probably have read one more book in the first week of the month before I went on holiday, but we'll get there. I just need to make sure I'm really on it with reading this week, and maybe try and do a little less in the way of extra work and tennis and other things going on. So that concludes this week's video. Please give it a like down below if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment about any of the books I have read or anything else you'd like to discuss with me, and please consider subscribing if you enjoy my content and want to see some more from me. I will see you very soon for next week's video. Goodbye!